Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Beyond the Album Cover with Jarrell Mason, where we get inside the entertainment industry with those in the know and give them their flowers while they're here to be celebrated. With me on the podcast, I have a man that's been in the music industry for as long as I can remember. New Jack Swing, hip hop soul, Future Studios, Basic Black, 911, the whole 9 yards. We're going to get into his music career, production, songwriting, the importance of New Jack Swing, and everything else. Mr. Mucho Scott from Basic Black and 911. Mucho, welcome to Beyond the Album Cover, sir.
Appreciate you having me here, Jay.
Not a problem. I appreciate you taking the time to do this interview.
Okay, no problem.
All
Glad
right,
to be here.
Yes, sir. So let's just go ahead and hop right into it. Was music something you always wanted to do, or did you have other aspirations before the music bug came in?
Yeah, I was I had a wrestling match going on between music and sports. So I think music took over around about the ninth grade. So yeah, it was either gonna be either music or sports.
Okay, so what was your sport or sports of choice?
Uh Probably basketball back in the day, but I had a love for baseball.
Okay.
But everybody was playing basketball back in the day and football. But I kind of had a love for baseball. But being from a small city, didn't too many black kids play baseball back there.
Mm-hmm. And
But
where are you from?
I probably would Columbus, Georgia. So I probably would have chose basketball.
Okay, in Columbus, Georgia, we know Columbus because I believe there's a military base in Columbus, correct?
Fort Benning, yeah,
Fort Benning. Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
also Dallas Austin was from Columbus, correct?
Man, it's a lot of people got ties to Columbus. Chili from TLC, Gene Griffin, like you mentioned, Dallas Austin. Wayne Brady was born there. You got Andre 3000. His dad was from down there. Johnny Gill dad was from down there. So a lot of them had ties to Columbus. It's a few more. When I remember, I mentioned them to you. Then we had a few sports stars. Sam Mitchell. He played for the Pacers back in the day. And he was a coach too, professional basketball coach. Brennan Butler played pro football. So yeah, for that small town, man, we put out some major talent.
Now, being in Columbus, did you have a lot of the musical influences from the various people in and out of the military, and you're hearing the sounds of different regions by people coming in and out of Fort Benning?
Yeah, I think that's what kept us afloat, Fort Benning. If it wasn't for Fort Benning, man, we probably would have been like way behind on a lot of stuff. And even back in the 80s, we were probably a year behind everybody else. Like a new song would come out in the big cities, and we probably got it at the mom and pop stores down there 6 months to a year later. So by the time we got it, it was old. But if it wasn't for Fort Benning, we probably would have been like 2 or 3 years behind.
Yeah, I understand completely because I'm from the South myself, North Carolina. So I know when you're
Okay.
talking about everything coming about 6 to 8 months late when New York it was out prior to, and you're thinking,
Oh yeah,
man, we're all up
yeah,
on it, but it's like, man, this is old.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because the only way
yeah.
you
So
got to
yeah,
hear, because the only way you got to hear the fresh stuff was if you had a relative up north and they were coming down
and they bring it
south
to town.
for the
Yeah,
summer.
yeah, yeah. So I had a brother in the army. My dad was in the army, and then after them, my mom and nieces and stuff went in the army. So, but before that, my brother would like bring the new records home. One of our like cousins that was in the army in Fort Benning, they would travel and bring a new record home and like, y'all need to listen to this. And I'm like, wow, you come to find out it was already out up top about a year earlier.
Now, anybody else in your family musically inclined?
Oh, man, most of the family, mom played piano. All four brothers played guitar. We played bass. All of us played bass, so we couldn't start no band because everybody wanted to play bass. Nephews, I got probably about 4 or 5 nephews that produce. You probably know one of them, Jay Hot. He working with Johnson Blackstreet now. He used to work with Teddy. So C. Scott, nephew, DK, rapper, producer. So got also got nephews that write Oliver Drake. So you'll be seeing their names pretty soon on a few projects I'm working on.
Okay, yeah, definitely that. And of course, being from the South, you know all about that good old traditional down South barbershop quartet music where you're doing the hand clapping and throwing the tambourine in. So did that have
Oh
any
yeah.
influence on you in terms of vocals and production, that church sound?
Yeah. Cause back in the day, like in where I'm from, cause we only had the black music was played on the AM radio station. So they mixed the gospel in with the R&B and the soul and other music. That all that was mixed in on one station. It was on the AM station. It was WOKS in Columbus. I still remember when I was a little kid, and and on the FM station, the clear station, there was a lot of pop music going on. So, but all the black music was playing on the AM radio, kind of muddied. So, yeah, we got a lot of that soul and that dirt from the South, from the AM station down there.
Yeah, if you're from the South, especially rural, you're going to hear a lot of AM gospel. And then if you're lucky, you may catch an R&B station on the FM. But while I lived in North Carolina, we were close to the Virginia border. So we got to hear radio stations out of Petersburg, Richmond. And then if you're lucky, you'll catch stations out of Raleigh, Durham area.
Yeah, all our music was on one station back in the day. So in the morning it was gospel, then like after 12 and later we heard R&B and the deep root music, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So when hip hop first came in, what was your first reaction knowing that this genre is for us and it's not our parents' music?
Hip hop came when hip hop came and my parents said turn that racket down. And then I knew it was for us. They said it was noise. Y'all need to be listening to some Al Green or something like that. That we like, no, mom, this is what's going on right now. And they're like, turn that noise down. So that's when I figured out it was, hip hop was for us, for the young generation, back then.
Yeah, so did any of the early Atlanta hip hop make its way to Columbus, like Raheem the Dream, Kilo Ali, Mojo, and those King Edward J mixtapes?
Yeah, I think when Raheem came out, I think we was in Atlanta. No, we were still in Columbus, back and forth. So yeah, it was in rotation in Columbus at the time. By the 80s, we was pretty much hearing the new stuff.
And then 1987 hits. New Jack Swing. It's a combination of the hard beats of rap and the smooth melodies of R&B, and Teddy Riley meshed the two together because prior to, R&B was on one side of the room and hip hop was on the other side of the room. And when Keith Sweat, Make It Last Forever, Guy's debut album came out, they did this. So what was your reaction hearing like, oh man, this is slick R&B, but it has the aggressive hip hop beats that I love?
That was my reaction right there. Oh man, like wow, this new sound is crazy. And we would ride to that all day, man. We would listen to either the New Jack Swing sound or the Minneapolis sound. So just two sounds that we've listened to. For as R&B, hip hop, we mixed it up. But when New Jack Swing came out, man, it was New Jack Swing probably 75% of the time, and the Minneapolis sound was 25%. So, but it was overwhelming when it came out.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how prior to 86, 87, R&B was Plush, Adult, Anita Baker, Luther Vandross, Freddie Jackson. And then when New Jack Swing came out, it totally changed the R&B game forever. Now, how did Basic Black form?
Black formed in Columbus, Georgia. We was a local band in Columbus, Georgia. And we was playing the local clubs and back in talent shows and stuff like that. So we actually formed in Columbus, Georgia. We used to get together at the keyboard player house, Spec Turner. and practice over there in the bedroom. Keyboard, trap set. Just the drummer had the kick, snare, and hi-hat. Just squeeze it in. We had bass and little amp. Guitar player had his little amp, and Spec had his keys and his little amp, and the lead singer had a mic. We was out in the bedroom rehearsing.
So it's pretty much do it yourself. You had your homemade setup, and were you guys using like a closet for a vocal booth?
No, we was doing cover tunes in Columbus. So we weren't recording until we actually got into this the Budweiser Battle of the Bands contest back in the day. So we were just rehearsing for cover, to play at clubs. We would perform cover songs that was out back in the 80s, Mac Band, Levert, popular bands back in the day. We do some Prince songs, the Deal and Babyface, and stuff like that. Atlantic Star, anything that was top 40 R&B back in the day, we were learning and performing at the clubs on the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Now, getting your deal, were there any other labels in the bidding before you guys signed your deal?
No, not really, because we went from like I said, when we was basically black, we used to back up talent shows. And the promoter one year didn't have enough money to pay us. And he said, if y'all back this talent show and let me pay you what I got right now, I promise to let y'all open up for Guy, and Today had came down and a raw bass. So we were like, okay, yeah, cool. So we did the talent show for a little bit of nothing, just to get that opening spot for Guy and the concert that came off. So once we did that show, Gene saw us, everybody was backstage. But when we started playing, everybody came out to the side of the stage. And they were like, wow, like, man, we never heard a band that actually played the songs that sound like the record. That was Gene and Teddy told us. So they're like, man, y'all sound just like the record. Today ain't got no band. So when we get home, we may want y'all to come up and audition for Today. And we were like, cool. So that's how that came about with Gene Griffin. And we followed Guy tour bus for about three or four more cities. And so finally we drove up to New York and got to New York. It was on the weekend, and Gene had called to Columbus looking for us, but we was already up in New York. And we called home, and Spec talked to his mom, and she said, the guy from New York called down and looked for y'all, Gene Griffin. We were like, wow. We were like, well, we were like giving this number at the payphone. We up in New York, so he called us at the payphone. They, put us up at the hotel till that next Monday morning, and then we met with him. And man, from there we went to the hotel, to the rehearsal hall, and then to the studio.
Right. And you mentioned the late Mr. Gene Griffin, GR Productions, Teddy Riley, Today, Zan, Redhead Kingpin. I mean, on fire at this point. So what was it like once you
Rex
guys,
in effect.
Rex in Effect, that whole crew just knowing like, man, we're about to be alongside what's hot.
Yeah. Couldn't believe it. Was unbelievable, man. Coming from Columbus to New York City, it was like going from Earth to Mars. It was like a total different world for us. So we sitting in the office and everybody coming in with the jewelry on. We saw Rex in Effect, we saw A+, and we're looking at everybody like this, man, eyes wide open. Then Guy came in and it was like, speechless. So Redhead Kingpin, Big Bub, and Today, so everybody coming to the office at everybody had a set time to come in and meet with Gene. So, man, we were just in there in awe. We couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you guys going to the studio to make the debut album. What was that process like in knowing that, hey, we want to add our own flavor and sound to what's already going on with New Jack Swing, what Teddy and Gene got going?
Yeah, we kind of had a little sound. We had our little own sound, but at the time we had a female lead singer. So Gene like, nah, man, I want to put this guy with y'all. like 1989, and he introduced us to a guy drum tech, which was Diesel. And we heard him sing, man, and we were like, wow. We were like, yeah, we said. So he was like, we were supposed to start recording in New York. So around about that time, we did a little tour with Today, got back home for Christmas, and everybody went back home for the holidays. And Gene called us and said, man, I'm moving the company to Georgia. And so, Gene came down to Georgia. We went over his mom's house. He was from Columbus. Met him over there. He let us hear some new stuff. He said, all right, when we go back to Atlanta, we're going to start recording. And we asked him, guy go be there? He's like, yeah, I got 3 houses already for Aaron, Damien and Teddy. We came to Atlanta. He showed us the houses, big houses out there in Johns Creek. And man, we were like, wow. We were like, this really it. So, we was supposed to start recording. Diesel came down. We actually did start recording, but we asked Gene, like, when is Guy coming down? Are they gonna feature on our album? And Gene was like, yeah, they coming down. But come to find out, that's when the split up that happened.
And this is right after the Future album, correct?
No, this was before the Future. This was right after that Guy first album.
So 87.
So I think Future came out.
Future came out in 90, I think. I want to say.
90. Yeah, so we recorded our album before he did the second Guy album, which was the Future. So Basic Black came out then. Then Teddy finally got away from Gene, got out of the contract. Then he did the Future album. So, but before that, Teddy was calling us and telling us, don't sign to Gene. Come to New York, man. We got something for y'all. But we stayed. I guess the reason why we stayed because it was closer to home.
And you guys been from Columbus, and then all the early Atlanta stuff breaking because Bobby was already in Atlanta doing Don't Be Cruel, Bosstown Studios, which later became Stankonia. All of the early LA and Babyface stuff with the face, and then Dallas, Joyce Cinderella Irby put them on, did 2 cuts off of Troops Attitude album, and then Jermaine Dupri was working on Silk Times Lover, and then later after that, Crisscross and So Def. So what was that like for you at the same time you're recording Basic Black, seeing everything that's coming out of Atlanta with LaFace, So Def, and Dallas?
Yeah, actually we was I think we was before everything except Bobby Brown and the LaFace sound and Silk Times Leather. I think we beat out the Crisscross. So from that, Jermaine, and a lot of people knew who we were. We didn't realize it, but they see us out. They're like, oh man, Basic Black, and and to this day, if Andre 3000 see me out, he'll say, what's up, Basic Black? They'll the C-Town, because he got Columbus ties too. So, but we couldn't believe it, man. Like even Bobby Brown used to call us Basic Black, and we just couldn't believe it. So, but a lot of stuff came out after we did, and even the So Def movement. Jermaine even said, "What's up, Basic Black?" He would call us Basic Black. He never called us by our name, and a lot. But Dallas knew us by name because he came from Columbus with us. So, I mean, it was unbelievable. We couldn't believe it, man. And like we kind of put that first sound, the Atlanta sound, on Bobby and Babyface. So picking up a little of that Southern sound and mixing it with the New Jack. I think that's how we came up with that Basic Black flavor.
Yeah, man, that album. I mean, New Jack Swing Lovers is still loved and revered to this day. She's Mine, Nothing But a Party, Special Kind of Fool. I could just go on down the line of all the cuts off of that album. So what song on the album was the hardest to record?
The hardest to record was probably the first one, which was She's Mine, because we was new in the professional studio at the time. So I think the nerves got to us more than anything. So it was probably the first one. We recorded that in I forgot the name of it, but it was on Spring Street, and it was Isaac Hayes' old studio, and we recorded there first, and that was the hardest one. First time in a big studio with $6,000 microphones and $1 million board. So I said that first song was the hardest one.
Now,
After that, everything fit in place.
yeah, now in the remix to She's Mine, you guys had CL Smooth from Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Now, how did he drop on the remix?
They sent it to Eddie F. Because we was on Motown. Eddie F did a lot of stuff for, MCA Motown. Motown was being distributed by MCA at the time. So with Eddie F, MCA ties, and the labor A&R of the labor said let's let Eddie F touch it. He was hot at the time, and then he remixed it, then threw Pete Rock and CL Smooth on it.
And this is right around the time when Gerald Busby was over at Motown, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Today was signed to Motown, the Good Girls, the Boys.
The Boys, Malira. You still had Stevie Wonder there, Temptations. Gerald Albright, man. It was a big lineup.
Definitely that. Now, Diesel, vocally cold. I mean, Special Kind of Fool. I mean, one of the most beautiful ballads I've heard. I mean, the vocals, the production. How did that song come about?
Zan the Man. It was actually one of Zan the Man songs. It was supposed to go on Zan album, and Gene was telling us about it. So we heard it. We didn't like it. We didn't like it because it didn't have a swing sound to it. We wanted everything to swing. So Gene was like, "Man, y'all fool, man. This we put this on the album." So you got, Diesel got it now. Even after Diesel sung it, we still didn't like it. But then, we go out on the road and everybody was like, "Special Kind of Food, do Special Kind of Food." So we had to come back home and learn Special Kind of Food.
Oh, man.
So it was crazy.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, that's too young to remember the Quiet Storm. This would be when radio stations would play slow jams from maybe 8 to midnight or 9 to 11, whatever, what have you. And then you would play certain songs. And I'm sure Special Kind of Fool was one of those request favorites during the Quiet Storm period.
Yeah, we didn't know that till we actually got to Texas. And in Texas, that was their favorite basic black song. It was Special Kind of Fool, then Nothing But a Party. So we had, once we found that out, we had to come back home and learn Special Kind of Fool.
So how was it influenced on you as a producer and as a songwriter, being around Teddy and everybody else in the camp, seeing how they work, how they move, and saying, "Hey, let me try my hand at producing and writing and really hone my craft"?
Yeah, I was already writing in Columbus. I had, I already knew I had a writing skill, and but then I started producing in Columbus too. So I picked up a beat machine, and it felt comfortable. So once I got around a few professionals and see how everything was done and learn the equipment, and then a lot of stuff just fell in place. And I mean, being around them, I'm kind of like a sponge. Whatever I see, I could pick up. So it's not hard for me to learn that.
Yeah. So was a lot of it trial and error where okay, this doesn't work. Let me try it this way. I got something going, and just learning on the fly.
Yeah, it was kind of like learning on the fly. Cause when I first started on the Akai MPC, I did a hot beat, man, and put everything in place and turned the drum machine off and didn't realize you had to save it on floppy disk at the time. So when I turned it back on, everything was gone. I was like, wow. So that, I learned that from trial and error. So, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was like trial and error.
Yeah, because back in the days before technology became prevalent, you didn't have a lot of sample time if you were going to sample a record. So what a lot of producers would do, they would speed up the record in order to trick the machine into giving them more sample time, and you work with
Oh
what you
yeah,
got.
yeah. Then slow it down, and what that did, what that did was it kind of messed up the quality, and it went from like kind of like from 16-bit to 8-bit, and everybody started liking that 8-bit sound. So a lot of the samplers back then did that. So yeah, you're right about that. Speed it up, get the sample in there in about 10 seconds time, then slow it down to double it, make it 20 seconds. And it kind of dirtied the quality of it, but everybody liked that dirty sound back in the day. So
Yeah,
the Kaya and SB12 1200 did that.
yeah, that's what made hip hop and R&B during that period so raw. It was do it yourself because a lot of the early Teddy work, like with Bobby Brown and Guy, was done in his apartment at St. Nick's, and they were
Yeah,
using, I believe, the shower as a vocal booth.
yeah.
And then,
Vocal booth. Yeah.
yeah, so it's just nuts how you do it yourself, and that muddy, quality, grainy sound captured the world.
Yeah. It's that analog sound.
Mhm.
Everybody and a lot of stuff is going back to that dirty sound right now. It's coming back.
Yeah, what's old is new again. Now, did any of the Solar catalog have any influence on Basic Black?
What you mean by Solar? Who signed Solar? That
Solar, it was Dynasty, The
Oh
Whispers,
yeah. Oh
Babyface.
man, come on, man. Leon Silvers. I grew up. I almost grew up on that Shalimar sound. Man, when you said Solar, I kind of thought you was talking about that. But yeah, man, Leon Silver is one of my favorite all-time favorite producers and writers, man. Like I kind of grew up on that sound right there. So yeah, that played a lot of influence on my whole music career. And then
Mm,
actually got a chance to work with Leon once he came to Virginia Beach. Yeah, that's one of my favorite writers and producers, man. He's underrated.
yeah,
A lot of people don't know
Leon
about him.
Silver's a bad man. Look up his production
Oh
credit.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man. He had a group called Dynasty, and there's another group uh he did. He did a lot of whisper stuff too. So that whole
Mm,
sound, man. It was like back before Teddy. If Leon touched the song, you knew it was him. Because he had that sound too.
every producer had their calling card. Like if you listen to a Jimmy and Terry record, you knew they had certain elements
Yeah.
that would let you know that that was a Jimmy and Terry record, or Teddy, that's a Teddy record, or like you said, Leon Silver's, it's a Leon Silver's record.
Mm-hmm.
So each producer stood out in their own way by using different sounds or different techniques to say, hey, this is my work.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that.
So after the debut album, what happens next? Touring, and then how did you end up going down to Future Studios, Virginia Beach, in the formation of 911?
Okay, after the first album, we did a little touring, came back home, rested a little bit, and about a month, and then Gene, said, "Yo, it's time." Motown wanted us to start on the second album, and we were like, "Well, we ain't getting no money from the first one." So anybody that questioned me, he had a solution for us. So I said, well, what about the first album? We ain't getting no royalties. He like, okay, well, Motown don't want you. He just want the other three. I like, okay, cool, go. I like, go ahead. So I walked out the office and he followed me outside. Come on, man. We need to do this, and you know, we need to record the album from Motown. So but we went back in the office and had the meeting, but eventually it was like majority, all of us said, man, we can't do it, man. We said amongst each other, and Gene got whipped that we want to go do the album. He started sending people around to spy on us and stuff. So, after that we just didn't do it. And we was around, we was still in Atlanta, and Teddy, I think Teddy reached out to me, asked me to come to Virginia Beach. He flew me down there. He was working on the Blackstreet first album, man. And I heard it, and he asked me that I want to join the camp. I was like, sure. He like, all right, cool. He said, do you need to go back to Atlanta to get some clothes or anything? And I could put you up in an apartment now. I'm like, yeah. I said, no, I'm good. I'm like, just put me up right now. I'm good. I go back home later. So we started working on production. And after the Black Street album, I told him I want to put together me another group. He said, cool. So that's when I started working on me another group. And actually, my conception came up with the 911 name. It was me and Demetrius Shipp. Demetrius Shipp is the father of the guy that played in the Tupac movie. And so it was me and him, and we was looking for a third member. We could never get the third member. And so when Teddy and Mike Conception were managing Teddy, when they split, Demetrius moved back to California with Mike. So I was there by myself with, still trying to do the group. So that's when I told Diesel to come down. And me and Diesel started on it. Then we got Rob, and we started working on it then.
Right. And for those of you that don't know, Rob, foreplay. I mean, if you are a deep 90s R&B lover, you know his stuff. Feel me? I mean, vocally bad brother. And then Demetrius Shipp,
Oh
I
yeah,
did not know was in Virginia Beach before he went back to Cali to start doing a lot of the in-house production work over at Death Row.
yeah, bad. That's another bad boy.
Yep.
So he worked on the Michael Jackson stuff with Teddy. So he was actually down there probably, I'd say about 6 months to a year before I got down there.
Wow. And also, did you have a lot of interactions with Mr. Bernard Bell?
Oh yeah, Bernard Bell brought the Riff project through. Another one of my mentors, man. I look up to him. Bad brother, bass player, keyboard player, vocalist. A lot of people don't know he can sing, but Bernard got a high range. So yeah, he brought the Riff project through and told me and Teddy he wanted us to touch up on it. Work with Bernard.
Okay, and yes, people, Bernard Bell, well-respected songwriter, producer, and also brother of Regina Bell. I don't know if you know this or not, if you can confirm or deny, but wasn't he supposed to be originally in Today?
I think so, but I think it was the Gents. It wasn't Today.
Yeah, I think they were the Gents
I think
originally.
it was the Gents. I think it was called the Gents then, but I think so. I can't be 100%, but I think so. I talked to Big Bub last night, but actually Chief gave me a little history on that. But I think it was Bernard that was in the original the Gents.
Okay, all right, and then also within that same camp, Miss Tammy Lucas. If you listen to a lot of the Teddy Productions, backing vocals, is it good to you? And also Mary Brown.
Yeah. Now we worked with Tammy Lucas, but we didn't get a chance to work with Mary. We was getting around to it. So the first one we worked with in New York was actually Tammy Lucas. Gene said, man, I'm gonna put y'all with this writer. Y'all do tracks, y'all bring them to me. And me and Spec did a track, took it to Gene, he gave it to Tammy, and Tammy came out with a song for Star Point. And it was me and Spec Melody actually that Teddy redid for the Star Point song, but we didn't get credit.
Okay. Do you remember the name of the Star Point record?
I think Teddy did two songs on that album. The up tempo was the melody that me and Spec did, and Tammy Lucas penned it. So I can't remember the name of it, but I don't remember the name of it. I forgot what they called it.
All right. Pin Game, Cole, and also mentioned you're down in Virginia Beach. Did you have any inklings that when Pharrell and the crew came around that the Neptunes were going to be something special and something serious in the music business?
Yeah, I always knew that's going to be big. I just thought it was going to be big as a group. And he was in a group called the Neptunes. There was him, Chad, Mike E was in the group, and they had another like a 4-member group. So I just thought the sound they was doing they was doing like a sound that I think like you remember Diggable Planet,
De La Soul, Native Tongues, that whole crew.
They well, I think it was a group called Diggable Planets, Digital Planet, Diggable Planet.
Diggable
They
Planets, yeah.
actually bit. They actually bit the Neptune. Neptune came out with that sound first, man. So then when Diggable Planet came out, it was like they heard Pharrell them demo, and it was crazy. So they had that kind of sound. So I mean, I always thought they were gonna be big, but I just thought I didn't know Pharrell and Chad was gonna just jump out and be as big as they are now. I knew the Neptune's group was gonna be like a household name.
Right, but it's crazy to think how at this time the Tidewater area was just exploding with talent. You have the Neptunes over at Future with Teddy, and then you had Missy and Timbaland over with Devontae. They go upstate to New York to start honing their craft with the Bassman, and of course Genuine was up in that camp. Player, rest in peace, Static Major, Tweet, Sugar, and then of course Sister, which was originally the female group that Missy was in before they
Missy
started.
was in, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you think Salt and Pepper had moved in town at the time. You had Omar F that sung on the Joy and Pain with Rod Bass. He moved there. Man, it was a lot of people moving to Virginia Beach at the time.
Yeah, I
And
can imagine that. I can imagine why. You're close to the border, and it also put Virginia Beach on the national map when the Rump Shaker video was shot in Virginia Beach.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Virginia Beach was the the spot at the time. Early to mid '90s, it was Virginia Beach. So everybody was getting ready to move there, man. And I guess like late '90s it started dying down, and then just died down after that.
Yeah, because being in the South, you can get land and houses for cheap. So a lot of people from up north
Yeah,
moving down south, and being
yeah,
from close to the Virginia border in rural North Carolina, we're only like maybe a little over 2 hour drive from Virginia Beach. So once Neptune's, Timbaland, and Teddy stuff out of Future Studios started popping, we're like, ah man, this stuff is like really hot. But I know 911, you guys put out a record called Cutie. You guys were supposed to do an album, but that never materialized, correct?
we finished the album, and what happened? That was after Blackstreet, the first Blackstreet broke up. Teddy was getting ready to do the Guy 3 album, and Teddy signed 911 to Lil Man Records, which was going through Interscope. So Teddy said, "All right, y'all stay over here in my studio and record y'all album, and me and Guy are going to Trinidad." And they went to some big studio in Trinidad to record their album. So Teddy went over, started recording with Guy, and I think like a month later he came back home on a break to see the family, and we had 10 songs done, so he couldn't believe it. I think Guy was just like 3 or 4 songs in. So after we did the 10 songs, he like, okay, Interscope wants y'all to do 2 more. He go back to Trinidad, come back on another break, and we got 2 more songs finished, and they're like, it wasn't no just threw together song. There was, people were going crazy over.
Right.
And but we kind of figured he kept just making excuses. You're like, all right, well, Jim Iovine want another up tempo, and we went and did another up tempo, and come to find out, we had a conversation. I had a conversation with him. He was like, man, if I put y'all out, then y'all sound, y'all might be competition for Guy. I said, yeah, but we on your label. I said, so how's that gonna hurt you? I said, that's gonna help you if we are competition for Guy. He said, like Diesel, strong vocally, that's gonna be competition for Guy. I said, but Guy signed to MCA, Interscope, whoever they signed to at the time. I said, we signed to Lil Man Records. I said, so that's gonna help you. But he never could figure that out. And he never could come to grips with it. So he just put us on the shelf.
Oh man, yeah, because that Cutie record, dope sound, and all of us New Jack Swing hip hop soul lovers were like, man, this record is fire. And we were just like, man, where's the rest?
We had a whole album. And actually Cutie was number 1. Teddy wasn't gonna sign us at the time. We did the 911. He was playing us off, kept, okay, I'm gonna do it. I do it. I listen to it. and we actually sent the song overseas, and and they was playing it in London, and just so happened Blackstreet had a show in London, and then when they threw it on in the club, everybody was going crazy to it, and Teddy was like, he asked the DJ, he like, yo, who is this? And the guy said, it's 911, and Teddy was like, wow. So when he came home from London, he was like, okay, I want to sign y'all.
Wow,
So
crazy.
if it wasn't for London, London put us on the map actually. Go get my charger, really, at the bedroom. Yeah, London kind of put us on the map, and if it weren't for Teddy hearing that song in London, he probably wouldn't have touched us.
Wow. Now you mentioned London and how, as we all know, throughout the history of music, they have a strong love and appreciation for what we do over here in the US, and they add their own cultural spin to it. So what was it like when you heard that, man, this song is reacting in London, and then hearing all of the other British-based R&B acts adding their UK spin to US R&B, or what they would call swing beat over in the UK?
Um, but I mean, we didn't. When we went to London as Basic Black. So when we sent the song over there, the 911 song on there, we hadn't been back to London since then. So we only heard after the 911 song, we got a few hits for people, for us to do a remix on their stuff. So we did that, and then we got Will for like how they was the people overseas want your songs, put they kind of put a little house spin on it, with was a nice little club feel. I mean, we like the sound of it.
Mm-hmm. Now I want to back up a little bit. Now, these five young boys out of Atlanta, Georgia, I believe they were discovered or managed by Kevin Wales, and they were brought up in the music in
112.
Another Bad Creation.
Oh, ABC.
ABC, yeah, because Aisha crossover smash, and once again another early Dallas Austin production, and he did Coolie Eye Harmony for Boys to Men. Now, a lot of people were looking at ABC like, man, these guys are something serious, and it was kind of like the start of what Michael Bivins had with Biv 10 with ABC, Boys to Men, and of course BBD.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. So did you have like any early rumblings of like, man, I got this group out of Atlanta, they're gonna be the young new edition, and then I have these four guys out of Philadelphia, they're gonna be the new school version of the Temps and a lot of those crossover acts that Motown really thrived on back during their golden era?
I not really with ABC, but I had a friend of ours that met us at we Basic Black, and on our video shoot, we met a police officer named Marlon. Marlon actually had 112 at the time before they got signed. So Marlon was like, man, I want you to work with my group I got, and I went and heard them, man. They was amazing. So I actually did 112 first demo.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, and then when I went to Virginia Beach, I was telling. Hold on one second. Let me plug my phone up. Virginia Beach. When I went to Virginia Beach, I was telling Teddy about this group 112 he need to hear, and he like, yeah. He said I'll check him out when we go to Atlanta. So we came down to Atlanta for like, I think that was the last Jack the Rapper Fest, and 112 song for Teddy. He got distracted by other things that was pulling him to the side. And like, wow. Yeah, I said, did you listen to the group? He's like, oh yeah. I like him, man. A few months later, we back at Virginia Beach, and he see 112 on TV, signed the Bad Boy. I said, that's that group that I let you hear down at Jack the Rapper, and his mouth just dropped.
Man,
So he
I
could
did
have
not
had
know that.
112 too.
I did not know that. That's crazy that Teddy had a chance to sign 112, but it ended up going over to Diddy
The
and
Bad
Bad
Boy,
Boy.
yeah.
Now, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you know this or not about 112, but Tim and Bob, they had some records that they wanted to give the Boys to Men for the 2 album. But Gerald Busby told them, I want to get more established producers on this album, knowing that Coolie Eye Harmony, End of the Road crossed them over to pop. So a lot of those records end up going to 112 for the debut album, like Can I Touch You, Now That We're Done. All those were originally supposed to go to Boys to Men.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, and I know Timber Bar too, but I didn't know that.
Ah man, Tim and
Mm.
Bob, another set of songwriters producers that don't get enough credit, and I spoke with Brandon Akira from Mister a couple years ago, and he said that they had a second album ready to go, Tim and Bob at the helm, but I guess this was right around the time when East West Records folded and the second album got shelved by Mister.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could believe that. But yeah, I actually went out to Tim and Bob mansion they had out in Roswell, and they had a hot studio out there back in the '90s. It had some hits coming out of there. So yeah, I could believe that.
So what makes you think makes still the movement out of Atlanta so special? Like we mentioned early, like Raheem the Dream, Kilo Ali, had Hitman Sammy Sam, DJ Taz, then later on Organized Noise, Dungeon Family, T.I., Two Chains. What makes that whole Atlanta movement and sound so special where everybody's like, man, I gotta come down to Atlanta to get some of that?
Um, I think it was that Dungeon Family, man. When the Dungeon Family came out, cause they mixed pop, you heard pop on the song, and this all on one song. You heard R&B, you heard that foot stomping old Southern music, and you heard the hip hop on top of it. So you had four genres of music on one track, and it touched a lot of people. So I think it was more that Dungeon Family flavor, man, that brought a lot of the that actually brought a lot of that talent, a lot more talent to Atlanta. Cause you got to remember, you already had Babyface and Cameo in the '80s here. Then in the early '90s, you had Bobby Brown, and you know, we came here, and a lot of more artists came here. But actually, after that Dungeon Family hit, you know, Good 'Em Up and Outkast, all them, Sleepy Brown, and then you had people from the East Coast and up top New York coming to Atlanta, thinking this the place to be if I want to get my music heard.
Right, and it definitely still is the epicenter of what we know now with rap and R&B. And then Ludacris, he was actually a radio personality in Atlanta
Yeah,
before.
Chris Love.
Yep, and Poon Daddy, I believe, was Hot 97.9, I believe.
Yeah, I think they started on 103. I think 103.
Right,
Chris Love and Food Dad. I think it was 103 in the afternoon, like late on in the day.
right,
It
because
may have
I,
been. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, because I can remember that Ludacris had an indie album called Incognito, and it was making
Yeah.
its way around the southeast. You go to any farmers market or what mom and pop record store, get that, and then when he got signed to Def Jam South, it pretty much was a remastered version of Incognito with a few new songs added, and that's why the album was named Back for the First Time.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know about that, but I know he was on. I first heard Luda on the remix of. I think it was who was that artist Timbaland had. He was on the remix of one of those songs. Maganu, I think it was on one of those songs. That when I first heard Luda. I was like, okay. I said he got some skills. And that's when I first heard him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Atlanta movement still going strong to this day. You could look up everybody that's been through ATL, then had that ATL flavor, that sauce. Little John. For those of you that don't know, Little John got his start working with Jermaine Dupri at So Def. I believe it was A&R, because I didn't know this until he said it, that he was working at So Def when they put out those So Def based all-star compilation tapes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was mad when I lost my So Def based all-star collection tape, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lil Jon got to start from So Def.
Mm, and So Def. Now, when we talk about what Jermaine did, as we all know, got his start dancing at the Fresh Fest because his dad, Michael Malden, put together the Fresh Fest, and then Sip Times Lover, then Crisscross, and later Escape, and everything
Mm-hmm.
else that came out of there. I mean, Atlanta just had the pulse of everybody, and you guys been kind of at the forefront of it when it was in its infancy.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of looked at us as once that started rolling, they were looking at us as OGs. You know, we respect y'all, but this, you know, this the new sound now. And don't quote me on this, but I think I think Polo the Don got his start through So Def too. But don't quote me. But I think that's who that when I first saw Polo the Don through So Def project.
Right.
So they,
And right. And what is it that you think makes the New Jack Swing sound so special to where you have people still trying to emulate the sound, and of course everything going on in the Far East with K-pop, BTS, it pretty much is an homage to New Jack Swing.
yeah, I just think Teddy created a sound that you know, every so often it's gonna come back, just like the old Motown sound. It came back, and even though like a lot of R&B people don't hear it, a lot of the old Motown sound is actually done by a lot of pop artists, Megan Trainor, and you know, a lot of artists on the pop side, and so that actually made its way back. And that New Jack Swing, you know, Bruno Mars hit it real good. He did a real good job of recreating one of those sounds. Song I still listen to on my workout playlist. So I just think that New Jack flavor is gonna come back probably every 15 to 20 years.
Right, because when you listen to Jane Child Don't Want to Fall in Love remix, I mean, it just hits. Even there's a video game that came out in 94 called King of Fighters 94, and pretty much the character select screen pretty much just repeated the drum loop from the Don't Want to Fall in Love remix. And even, yes, Boy George from Culture Club had to come see Teddy to get that New Jack Swing flavor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Boy George, I think Simply Red came through Virginia Beach. Man, there was so many people came through. One that you remember Jane Ingram came to New York to get it. The Jackson Five came to New York to get it. Man, even the whining, you had gospel people wanted the New Jack Swing.
Yeah,
And
because I told Mike E that because of the Winans Return album, that got me starting to listen at 5, 6 years old to gospel, because I was like, man, this sounds almost like what I hear with Guy, and you just taking gospel and adding it to it, and it was just a whole nother level. Now, the one person that I felt would have been perfect for Teddy to work with New Jack Swing wise, but it never materialized, George Michael. That would have been nuts.
oh yeah, yeah, I think that would have came out fire too. It was a few more people. I don't know if Teddy got a chance to work with the new version of the Temptations, but I would have loved to see how that would have came out too. George Michael, the Temptations. You know, I thought that was gonna materialize, but it did.
Yeah, that would have been nuts. And then another thing that puzzles me as a music lover with the Jacksons doing the 2300 Jackson Street album, she should have been released as a single. And I feel
That was my
personally,
favorite song on the album.
yeah, and I feel personally that record got the ball rolling in Michael's head, like, let me go ahead and get with Teddy. And that started to work for
Yeah,
Dangerous.
yeah. Either yes, but I think 2300 Jackson Street solidified it because he actually came down. He flew down to sing on that one. I think Michael Jackson didn't actually sing on She, but he touched 2300 Jackson Street. But yeah, she got the ball rolling, but I think 2300 Jackson Street kind of solidified it.
Right. And then with the Dangerous album, for me, that is my one of my favorite Michael Jackson albums, and how that album was able to have Michael go from his work with Quincy and bring him to a younger demographic without really compromising. I mean, it was a perfect marriage.
Oh yeah, yeah, and another trendsetter album. That might be neck and neck with my either Off the Wall or the Thriller album. I'm gonna put. I grew up with the Off the Wall, the Thriller album, so I'm gonna run those two neck and neck with the Dangerous. But Dangerous album most definitely was a trendsetter album. You know,
Mm,
so yeah.
Right. So was there one artist that you felt had everything that they needed to be huge, but for some reason or another, never panned out and should have had more success than they should have?
Uh, there's quite a few of them out there. I can't put my finger on just one of them.
Right.
I know if Zan would have came out, he would have been real big. I mean, he had that smooth sound. Zan had a soulful sound, man, and he also could set fire to a New Jack Swing track too. So, um, yeah, I just can't put my finger on just one artist that should have been bigger than what they what they actually was at the time.
Right. And Big Bub, man, his solo albums coming at your album. I tell people this all the time. Big Bub vocally, take Luther Vandross and New Jack Swing Hip Hop Soul, mesh it together. That's Big Bub.
Yeah, and Big Bub been singing since he was probably 15, professionally probably about 15, 16, because he did a lot of backgrounds for Gene back in the day on My Prerogative, and you know the My Prerogative did a lot of stuff on the Jackson background, and so Big Bub been in, he been in that mix for a little while too,
Right.
for a good little while.
Because I think he did the backing vocals for Do the Right Thing for Redhead Kingpin.
Yeah, no, that's him. That's Big Bub.
I thought so. And also, for those of you that don't know, Do the Right Thing by Redhead Kingpin was originally supposed to have been the big song in the Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing, but it ended up getting beat out by Fight the Power. But Do the Right
Mm-hmm.
Thing later got put on the People Under the Stairs movie soundtrack that Wes Craven did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was Redhead Kingpin, that Do the Right Thing, was supposed to be the title track for the movie.
And I don't know if you know who sings the backing vocals for Nice and Slow for Redhead Kingpin. I always thought it was Trey Lawrence, but I don't know if it was him or not.
I don't remember that one right there.
Yeah, I
I don't
think that
remember
was
that
off
song.
the album with no name, but Redhead Kingpin, another one who was underrated.
Yeah, David Guthrie. Yeah, me and him was supposed to work together too, man. I was making plans in New York. Everybody knew me, and they're like, okay, the guy from the South, Red Ham, like, yeah, I heard about him. I want to work with him, and Bub actually introduced me to him, and we were supposed to work together. And so, but that's when the split up, right? Right about time the split up happened. So the
Mm.
whole big GR production split up.
Oh man, that would have been dope. Yourself, Redhead
Oh yeah.
Kingpin, fire, 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 fire. Now, tell us about any current projects that you got going on. Any new songs?
Working on
Working on.
got a male group called Black Male, mixing up the New Jack Swing and a little bit of the old R&B sound. We might dabble in something new, but it ain't gonna be too new. But we doing mostly New Jack Swing and some stuff.
All right. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it when that drops. And as far as for songwriting goes, what is your take on the current state of songwriting? Because some people tend to write either with the bridge first in mind, the hook, or your verses, and you have some where it's like throw the melody out the window and we're just gonna have a song with no melody. So do you think the art of songwriting has been remixed with given the way technology has become so convenient and everybody's all about adding their own twist and spin?
Yeah, for me, I feel a song come easy if the hook is the hardest part for me. So if I can get a good hook, then the verses fall in place, and the verses come pretty easy to me. But the hook is more what I'm more picky with, because the hook got to be tight for me. And if it's not a good hook, I probably won't finish the song.
Yeah,
So
you got to have that earworm. The hook is essential because if you can have the good song in the world, but if your hook is not hitting, your
oh
song
yeah,
is not going to pop.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So before we wrap, do you have any shout outs you want to give and also plug your social media?
I don't even know. I don't even know my social media, man. Like Mucho Scott 23. I mean, I think that's my IGM and Facebook page and Twitter. I think all of Mucho Scott 23. Shout out to Blackmail, Dre Riley, Ty Styles, Marcus Vance. Get ready. We getting ready. Shoot y'all a little new Jack Swing flavor. And we got some features on the album. Real familiar features that you're gonna be familiar with.
All right. And you can catch this interview available wherever you stream your podcast, Anchor, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Verbal, on YouTube in video format, youtube.com/beyond the album cover. Be sure to follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/beyond the album cover, to stay updated with the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mucho from Basic Black 911, producer, songwriter extraordinaire, long live New Jack Swing. Mucho, thank you for coming on to the podcast, sir.
Oh, my brother, my pleasure, man, always.
Yes, sir.